8,
You're watching The
7,
Experience, Comic Culture,
6,
and Sales.
5,
Streaming live daily
4,
to Facebook, YouTube,
3,
Twitch, and Twitter.
2, 1.
You know, the term rescue dog is always interesting to me because, you know, it basically says that you went to a shelter and rescued them. And my pit bull I got from a rescue like that, or I got from a pet adoption day. And I absolutely love her. She's amazing. And I've had her now for 13 years and hopefully going strong. But she's getting old. But that's not why I mentioned it. What I mentioned it is because I think there's another type of rescue dog. And I saw one today. I got up early this morning, just started doing all my work. And I didn't really think about it. I'm back on some antibiotics and didn't think about it. And had to run to the store. So I ran over to this local 7-Eleven to pick up a couple things. And as I paid, I turned around and I started feeling a little dizzy. But I'm like, okay, I'm just going to get out to my truck. And I open the front door and I get outside. And just it starts getting a little worse, a little more dizzy. And they've put up these pillars in front of the 7-Eleven. And I immediately reached out and I put my hand and kind of leaned forward. And when I leaned forward, my hand swings down and lands on the head of this very cute gray pit bull who don't know where it came from, didn't see it when I was walking out, but suddenly the dog was right there. And I have my hand on here. Now my focus is on this dog and petting this little dog. And I just kind of stay there for a second until everything stops moving. And as I finish petting it, I said, thank you. And it kind of wags its tail and then runs back over to its master, wherever it is. And then I went out to the truck and I just thought, wow, worst case scenario, that dog just made it look, kept me from looking like I was about to fall over because it looks like I just reached down to pet the dog. But I think it kind of rescued me with helping me focus on something other than the spinning. So I'm okay. I got some food in me. I'm doing much better. So we're going to do a show today. Stick around for the Dan Wickline Show. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. We got a great lineup today. Besides this, will be What's in the Box, where Miss Jen has some rare comics tonight. The Geek Chat has a special episode as they're going to be giving away I cannot remember the guy's name, Jonas Schlank, something, a 1 in 25 variant of the Ultimates #1. So you want to be around for that. And then Sketch Up tonight has an Ancient Aliens theme and about, I don't know, like 300 artists scheduled or something like that. It just, I saw the list of it. It's like, that's a lot of people. So, all right, guys. So what we're doing today, we're going to talk about crowdsourced comics. You know, how, this new publishing venue or new publishing avenue that is really taken on. There was some smaller guys jumped in, started doing it, but now there are publishers that is their main source of revenue. That is how they market. They don't go through the diamond distributors and stuff like that, or that's only a part of their market. And we now see the larger companies like Dynamite and Top Cow and a lot of these other companies are starting to do this as well because it's an interesting revenue. But we're going to get into that. I have a guest for that. By the way, hello to Lorena. Hello to Ed and Triple B. Good to see you guys. But first, I want to hit the news. It's just a couple news stories I want to cover. I almost thought about skipping the news, but there's a couple stories worth catching on. First up is James Gunn posted yesterday that Saturday Night Live alum Beck Bennett would be joining the cast of Superman as the Daily Planet sports reporter Steve Lombard. Now, Bennett spent 8 seasons on Saturday Night Live and has done a lot of voice work over the years, including 2023's Nimona, and then over on the Disney Channel, he does this show called Random Things. Well, I think the inclusion of Lombard, along with, say, Perry White, Eve Tessmacher, Ma and Pa Kent, along with heroes like Metamorpho, Mr. Terrific, shows that Gunn is pretty much just going to drop us into an already established Superman universe, where all of these things are already in place. The things that that grew up over the years, well, we're going to get all of that at once, which I think is really kind of interesting. Hey, Slipknot, how you going? So, all right, moving on to the Deadpool and Wolverine movie is currently tracking to be huge, and man, both audiences and theater owners are hoping for that. But this is something Marvel has definitely paid attention to, because reports are that Sean Levy, the guy who directed it, and also Free Guy, he's involved with Stranger Things and all of these other projects. He's in talks right now to direct Avengers 5. Now, we still don't know what Avenger 5 is going to be called. Originally, it was going to be Kang Dynasty, and there's been reports that it's going to be something different, while other reports say it'll still be Kang Dynasty. But yeah, Sean Levy is supposedly have been given the script from Michael Waldron. Michael Waldron, of course, who wrote the Loki series, is also the guy that wrote Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. He took over it when Destin Daniel Cretton left. And now they're still looking for a director. But pre-production is supposed to start in July, with shooting in December or January. So they need to lock in a director. Now, what they're saying is that they gave the script to Levy, and he hasn't responded yet, but they're going to talk to some other directors too, just in case. But Levy's their top choice right now. The thing that might hold him back is the final season of Stranger Things, which he's involved with. And he's also got this Star Wars film coming up he's supposed to be doing. So we'll see if that ends up happening. And the one other news story I wanted to cover is the MCU may finally have lost hope. Yep, Hope Van Dyne, or rather Evangeline Lilly, as the actress posted that she's stepping away from acting, at least for now. Now, what she actually wrote was, stepping away from what seems like the obvious choice, wealth and fame, can feel scary at times, but stepping into your dharma replaces the fear with fulfillment. I might return to Hollywood one day, but for now, this is where I belong. A new season has arrived, and I am ready, and I am happy. I am so filled with joy and contentment today as I live out my vision. Now, what she's referring to as her vision is that there was a clip of her being interviewed during Lost, the show she was on, from about 10 years ago. And she said in that interview, I'm terrified to admit this to the rest of the acting world, but ideally 10 years from now, I'd like to be a retired actress. I would like to have a family and potentially influence people's lives in a more humanitarian way. So she's stepping away from acting. Don't know what that's going to mean for the upcoming Avengers movies, stuff like that, because I believe they still expected to have the Wasp show up. So it'll be interesting to see how all of that plays out. I do want to point out to anybody who follows me, and I do have to mention when I say this that you guys know that Nick Barucci is one of the backers of the Experience, Dynamite Entertainment. So anytime I talk about something about Dynamite, I'm the one deciding to talk about it. I don't do things based on the fact that Nick is involved with this. So I am going to talk about Dynamite twice today, but it's of my own volition. The first up is about a current Humble bundle going It's the 20th anniversary Humble Bundle. And the reason I am mentioning it, besides the fact that it's got Red Sonja, Vampirella, Army of Darkness, Superpowers, Jennifer Blood, Jungle Girl, Sheena, just Deja Thoris, Tarzan. Man, there's a lot of stuff. Alice in Wonderland, Black Bat, Dead Irons, Raise the Dead. Man, there's a lot of stuff on here. But one of the books on there, slightly surprising, is Karma. Is my a mature graphic novel that you can get like 2,000 books or 2,000 was it 2,000 pages or something like that. It's this huge, not 2,000 books, pages of comics for like $20. It's all on one tier. It's just basically come in $20 and you get everything. Or is it 25? It shows you how well I'm. $20. Yeah. So you can, of course, pay more because part of it goes to charity and part of it goes to Humble Bundle. And the charity they picked is, how everybody has their charity. You see it on, oh, he's playing for charity. What's your charity? My charity I always go to is the Hero Initiative. They're the group that helps out creators in need. So somebody gets sick, they step up and help them. Somebody gets behind on their bills, Hero Initiative steps up and helps them. They're a great, great group. I've done a bunch of stuff for them. I actually wrote an entire book and gave it to them to publish years ago. So part of the proceeds go to the Hero Initiative. So check it out if you get a chance. The link's in the comments. Yep. Yeah, it's a digital bundle. Yeah. So you don't have to, they're not going to mail it to you. You don't have to find room in your house for all these new books, but you'll have access to them, which I think is awesome. I like reading digital comics nowadays anyway, but still like owning them, but I'm good with digital too. So again, Karma and a bunch of great books out there. So check it out. All right. When we come back, I'm going to talk about Crowdsourced Comics with my guest, ethereal publisher, Dustin Brunell. So we'll be right back.
We know you probably get a lot of emails, but could you please make sure to sign up for our mailing list? We don't send a lot of emails, and we try not to bother you. We just want to give you the best information about all the cool stuff that's going on around here. Sign up on our website, theexplive.com.
You love comic books. You collect comic books. But even if you own a rare, expensive issue, it's still a copy. How would you like to own a piece of comic book history? The actual art pages the comics were made from? Oh no, you say. That's too expensive. Regular people can't afford that stuff. Can they? Nick Ferrucci says yes. Join the founder of Dynamite Entertainment for the original art experience on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook. Incredible art at almost unbelievable prices. Does he have some high-dollar pieces for the high rollers? Sure, but Nick always makes sure to find amazing pieces priced for the fledgling collector. You can collect original comic art. The original art experience. Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Part of the experience. Ask your local comic shop to add Battle Quest comics to your pull list today.
everybody. Welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show. We are going to be talking about crowdsourced comics, and we are joined by Dustin Brunell. Dustin, you are the publisher of Ethereal Comics, writer as well, and chief bottle washer and packer. And I work with Dustin. I've been doing stuff with Ethereal for about a year now. Getting more and more stuff as we go along. But I wanted to bring up, before we jumped in, I wanted to answer a couple of the quick questions I saw in chat. I've seen the Venom 3 trailer. Looks pretty cool. I need to sit down and really watch it slower and figure out what's going on. I agree, Deadpool looks massive. Eddie, they're not abandoning Kang from what I've heard. They're probably going to bring in a second villain to kind of downplay him a little, but the current plan seems to be recasting him. Let's see. And then Ed had a question. Ed, you do end up owning the digital files. How Humble Bundle works is you have access to download them to your computer, and once you download them, they're not tied to any kind of reader or anything. They're just Adobe files or the EPUB files, stuff like that. So you get like different ways you can download it to whatever reader you want, and you own them. So, yeah. So, good, Lorena. I'm glad you're going to get that. So, all right. Before we jump into Ethereal, I do want to talk about one Kickstarter that just started 2 days ago. And this is my other Dynamite mention. Dynamite has been doing Darkwing Duck, and they collected all of the previously published issues into a collection. And it's a huge collection, but they put it up, I think, like I said, 2 days ago it went live, and it's currently at $195,000. So I get why the big publishers are jumping in, especially on something like that. Or when they did the same thing with Gargoyles, even though they were repackaging books that Marvel published, because it goes with the licensed property, they repackaged that, and that Kickstarter went over $1 million, which is absolutely crazy. Because, I mean, there aren't that many Kickstarters that go over $1 million. I mean, I think the Critical Role animated series went over $2 million, and that was surprising to everybody. So to me, it's fascinating how the industry is now looking at crowdsourcing as a viable avenue for publishing, and this is what you do, Dustin. How did this come about?
Oh man. You can blame Bud Root and Mike DeBalfo for me publishing, but I owned a comic shop. I've been collecting books since I was knee high, and I owned a shop for a couple years. And when I moved, we closed the shop. We moved to Tennessee, and my uncle died, and I wrote eulogy for my uncle when he died and put it on Facebook, just so I'd be able to find it in the ether eventually, because the internet keeps everything alive. So I figured I'd be able to find it if I ever lost it. And Bud Root, I had known previously from being in comics and stuff, saw the eulogy and told me I should write comics. And I asked DeBalfo, because I'd known him for years, I was like, hey, buddy, should I do this? And he was like, well, surprised you hadn't done it already. And I was like, all right. So we put out the listener on Kickstarter and crowdfunded the listener and did about $1,000. Mind you, I paid like $4,000 to publish that book. But I made about $1,000 on it. And I was, I'm pretty bullheaded. You know me, if I'm in my ways, I'm in my ways. And I was like, you know what? That's cool. We're going to go to issue 2, So I did issue 2. Issue 2 did about 1,500, and did issue 3, did about the same. And then I put out Greed. Greed did a little bit better than that. but this was all really fast. Like we worked on it for about a year, and then we started Kickstarter. You know what I mean? And I was still selling books from owning the shop. You know, I still have 400, 500 long boxes here from that, you know, and so I was funding most of it that way and paying myself back. That's how I use Kickstarter. I pay myself back. That's the way that I work with it. And but anyway, I did that, and then we started doing shows. We started traveling the country, even though we weren't making shit. You know what I mean? Like, we were traveling. And I decided to put out this book called Babes Scoring Dinosaurs. And it was my last hurrah at Kickstarter, because I'd thrown like $20,000 into comics within a small period, about 8 months. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna really do it. And if I don't, this will be the end of it. You know what I mean? And BGD came in at like, between outside sales and Kickstarter, about almost 11,000 on the first issue. And I was like, man, oh man, let's try that again, you know? So we did BGD 2, and BGD 2 popped off. And then I decided to do a book that changed the game for Ethereal, which was If It Hops. And If It Hops came in, I think the first issue dropped at like 13,000. All of our sales combined when we first started that book, including Kickstarter and everything else. And then the second one dropped in at like 15. You know, and by that time I was already moving into other projects and bringing on other individuals, because having run a business, I knew that I needed to do more than just a couple books to exist. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. It took about 2 years, 2.5 years, and I started seeing profit after paying all the stuff back and handling my bills and everything else. Then it became a for-profit business, and not just, throwing money at a wall.
So why did you decide to do crowdsourcing instead of, the old way of going through Diamond or whatever the publishers are at this point, or the distributors are at this point? And
I know you can see all the boxes and stuff behind me. That's because I'm literally opening new boxes, taking out new pieces, the whole nine. I do it all myself here. And so this room sees 20,000 new books a month almost right now. And I had owned a shop, like I mentioned before, so I was used to dealing with Diamond.
Mm-hmm.
I was used to dealing with Diamond's professionalism, we'll call it. And I would receive books all the time that weren't packed like my 13-year-old would pack a book to you right now, and I didn't want my product going out like that. And we had a conversation with them. We've actually had 2 or 3 over the past couple of years, where we were offered. I asked the first time, they declined. When I first started doing this, and I told them I'd ship everything myself. I was like, you guys don't have to do that. You don't have to worry about it. I'll handle all the orders. They declined because they like to do it their way, and then when they reached out to me, it was, they wanted me to lower my price point, and I refused. Just because of the simple fact that right now we pay between $7,000 and $10,000 per issue in production, and that's before printing. You know what I mean? So you're talking about all this stuff going down, and they don't want you to make the money you need to make. They want it to be across the board. They have a certain price point they want to cross that comics should be, because that's what it's always been. It's been this to this to this. Then Marvel went up to $7.99. I lived it. I was there. I was selling books when it went to $7.99 for their giant size issues that Diamond was rarely telling people that they were giant size issues. Let me tell you, when you order 100 issues to 200 issues a month, the same book for your shop, and then they don't tell you there's a price point raise because you're automatically getting that book. You know, it already goes through because it's on your order.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're catching $800 more a month than you assumed you were going to get. Don't think they don't know that that happens, man. You know, that goes down. They know it's coming. You know, so I felt like the price point was fair because I always wanted to pay the artists what the artists would need to make. And that's an industry thing, though, and that goes a little bit further than what you're asking me. But yes, that goes. I have declined, and I think that this was the way to be able to not only take care of the team that we have, but also take care of the stores that order books from us. You know, we're in all over the world right now. You know, the coolest place is we're in a tattoo shop in the middle of London. So I love that. But no, there's a lot going on, and I like to have my hands in all of it. And this made it simpler for me to be able to watch and monitor every way that we publish books.
This sounds like the perfect avenue for a control freak.
I mean, if you like right now, I'm grateful. I'm so grateful for April Reyna, our project manager. And I'm so grateful for you stepping into the art director role that you've stepped into, because I can't do it by myself anymore. When I started, it was easy. You know, there was only, 10 people. Now you're talking to upwards of 80. And one person trying to do all that it's impossible.
Right. And I know when you start a publishing company, it's easier to get the artists and writers than it is to get the people to do the layouts, the ads, the book stuff. I mean, I found myself in that same place back in the 90s when I was publishing. You know, I suddenly became a colorist, a letterer, an inker, and doing all the extra jobs because there was no one else. But, somebody to draw a page, plenty of them. Writers coming out the woodwork,
Right.
Now, you talked about your price point.
Mm.
And I will tell you that it did shock me a little when you and I first started talking, because your price point is $14.99 a book, right? Yep. And that's for 24 pages?
32.
32. Okay. And is that all story?
That's all story. There's not an ad in a single book that we put out.
Okay. So 32 pages, $14.99, and you're selling books. That's not scaring people off.
No, because you mentioned just a moment ago, you mentioned there were writers coming out of the woodwork and artists coming out of the woodwork. I don't just take anybody that comes out of the woodwork. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These are all names that you know very well every time you pick up an ethereal book. You know, maybe one or two that you haven't heard of, but guarantee you'll know them if you do a little bit of research. You know what I mean? And to be able to pay those individuals, you have to make a certain price line. You have to be able to support them. You know, you can't go to, we'll use Devin Massey for an example, because I love Devin. He's a great guy. You can't be like, hey, man, I want this all-star dude on my team, but I don't know that I could afford to keep his lights on. You know what I mean? And that's not a thing. So you hear that in the industry all the time, that they weren't treated right here. They weren't treated right there. We don't do that. We make sure everybody's treated well. So that's where the money goes. The money goes to taking care of folks. And in turn, they give you product with everything they've got, so you guys are getting amazing product every time it comes out. But yeah, $14.99, man, that needed to be the price point to start even breaking even in production for a book like this. Like I'll put our books next to any publishing company in the world. Doesn't matter if they're the big two or not. You know, a lot of our guys were people that were disenfranchised with those companies. You know, they weren't treated the way they should have been treated. So they needed a home, and our doors were open.
So you've got this now. You've got your price point you're happy with, that your audience is happy with, because they stick around. You have a growing audience. You know, how long did it take? I mean, you talked about the books, but how long did it take that it looked like, yeah, we've locked this in?
This man.
This is what we should charge. Yeah.
The whole nine, when we sat down and started doing it, like when we were secure, like this was a thing. It probably took a good 6 months for me to figure out this was what I wanted to do, how we were going to charge the books for, you know, what we were going to, you know, what the printer I wanted to, what kind of paper I wanted to use. Because if you pick up an ethereal book, they're thick, man. You know what I mean? I don't use shitty paper. So they're thick. You're not getting newspaper print from ethereal ever. It'll never happen. So it's just, you had to look at all these things, and then shipping. What kind of shipping were we doing? We never shipped media mail. We've not shipped media mail once, you know, because I don't believe in it. I don't believe that you guys should pay $14.99 for a book and then have it shipped as cheap as I can ship it. That's not a thing either. You know, it's like, you know, when you go to pick up a comic book, right? You pick up a comic book now. We'll use a modern comic book. Pick up a modern comic book, and we'll say from Marvel. You pick up a modern comic book, and it feels so flimsy to me. It feels so flimsy to me. You know, it doesn't feel like I want to pay $8 for that. It doesn't feel like that to me. And when you pick up a book from us, we knew that we wanted certain aspects. We wanted it to look clean. We wanted it to feel good. You know, not the whole experience, from buying it to having it in hand to the digital PDFs. You know, the experience is what we want you to realize that you're getting from us. You know, the story is great. The art's good. Fine. That's fine. It's the other things that you have to use to set you apart. And that's what we were pushing for. It took me a good 6 months, 6.5 months before I was happy with the system that we had in place.
Now, it's starting to feel like the difference between your standard publisher, your Marvel, your DC, and Crowdsourced, or at least Ethereal, is almost like the difference between mass-produced and artisan. You know,
yeah,
the loaf of bread, Wonder Bread you pick up at the supermarket, yeah, it's cheaper. It's going to do. It tastes okay, and then, you know, or you go into an actual baker and you're going to pay more, but the bread is a higher quality. It's kind of the get what you pay for.
Yeah.
Now, with you say you're in a handful of stores, but the bulk of what you do is crowdsourced, right?
The bulk is it, but the stores also buy through Kickstarter.
Okay.
So there are stores that, like, we have never even known, right? Like, there's the stores that we do know, but then there's the stores that we've never associated with that find the product on Kickstarter. And that's not just us. That's Kickstarter worldwide type of deal. You know, you get vendors that go on there to look for product, and it makes it great. You know, it really does. Like, one of the differences that I can do with Kickstarter and crowdfunding is I can set a price point for vendors to buy from us. You know, like with us, it's a huge deal for me. Having owned a shop, I understand what it's like to be on both sides of that fence. So, like, our vendors get our books for $750. Doesn't matter how many they order. It's always $750. You know, you don't have to order, you know, 500, 600 books to get a decent percentage.
Right.
Man, you're trying to pay your bills. I want you to pay your bills, and I'm happy that you talk to us about helping keep your doors open. You know, so you get that percentage every time. not only do you get your $14.99 at half off, but you also get our wild editions at the same price for $7.50. You know, and that's something I don't know that other folks are doing currently, but I'm very proud of. And I also, one thing that you will find that a lot comes up is paying for print. A lot of shops have to pay for printing. With Ethereal, you don't. Your $4 per issue is what it costs me to print. $4 per issue is rolled into that $7.50. So you're never charged more. It's always that flat rate, including your print. And I think that makes it great for shops to be able to shop around, because now they have another venue. They don't just have, you know, Penguin Press or, you know, Diamond or whatever else they're using to find books they'd like. They can hop on Kickstarter. Mind you, I don't know what other companies are doing because I don't have the time to pay attention. But, you know, you can go on there and look around and find product that no other store may have, and you might want it in your shop, you know? And that's how we've gained substantial, you know, solidity in this industry. It was because of shops that are picking up books.
Now, one of the things you guys do is multiple covers.
Absolutely.
And each cover has variations.
Absolutely.
Where did that come from? Where did you know? Because I mean, I look at companies like there's Mount Olympus out there, Ron Zavala.
Right. Yeah,
and he
love
does
them.
a ton of covers as well.
Yeah.
And that's becomes kind of the collecting thing.
Yeah.
So, but you do the different variations on it.
Mm-hmm.
Where did all that come from?
So, owning a shop is where it all comes back to. It all comes back to Marvel, DC, and doing these ratio variants. Okay, I hated it. I hated it with a passion, and I loved the different art. I mean, I thought that was cool as shit. But the fact that I had to buy 100 copies to get a cover that I wanted to put in my shop was a cash grab, and I hated that. You know, I thought that was an awful way to treat people. Now, there's a ton of companies. You could throw a rock and hit a company that does that right now. I don't care. That's not the way that we run our business. I will print a 1 in 100 copy, but you don't have to get 100 of them to get that copy. You can buy that copy directly if you get there fast enough for the same price that you would have bought any other copy. You know? That's how I like variants. My ratio variants, if it's a 1 in 100, dope. It's a 1 in 500, sweet. You have the opportunity to get on there and grab it. I'm not stopping anybody from doing anything. That's gatekeeping behind a wall of money. And I don't appreciate that. I don't think it's fair to people that are trying to support your business. So if they're diehard fans, dude, get on there. When it goes live at 8 o'clock, get the copy you want. You know what I mean? But if it doesn't, there are other copies, you know, there are other books, there are other covers. I had a thing with Rogue, and I still do, where I was telling you about it the other day. I used to hunt every single book that had the character on it. Didn't matter if I collected the book or not. It's just because that bug bites, and there's certain things you want to make sure you have a complete run of, you know? And I mean, down to original art, I was chasing it. And I'm chasing some other things right now. I see you smile back there, Dan. You know what I'm talking about. So, but no, I wanted people to have the covers they wanted. So I wanted, but that's not just the covers themselves. It was the artists, you know. And as I was coming through, not only was I watching Marvel and DC do it, I was watching other companies do it. I was watching Broadsword do it. I was watching Zenoscope do it. And I was like, man, oh man, you know, they're still doing it that way. I want to do it this way. I want to give you the covers that you want in a way that you can afford to get them. You just have to be fast enough to get them. I can't control that part. You know what I mean? But I can control the price point. And I think that's fair. You know, not everybody can afford we'll use Mike again because he's my friend. Not everybody can go out and afford a $60 DeBalfo cover, right? $65 Debalfo cover, $120 Debalfo cover. Love him to pieces. Guess what? You can buy him for $14.99 from me. I don't care that I spent the money, the same money that the other companies did. I don't need to do that. I want you to be able to afford the art that you want, because it's a two-way street. When you talk about artists and you talk about writers and you talk about publishers, they're nothing without the people to buy the books, and that's the important part. I couldn't go, hey, Dan, I really want you to write a book if I can't afford it. You know what I mean? And I can afford it because there are beautiful people out there that want to buy the product, and that makes it possible. That makes it possible for us to give people jobs and pay for their mortgages and everything else because the people. So why should the people suffer by not getting what they want? I don't think that's fair. So yes, we do variant covers because I think it's fun and people enjoy them, and they can get what they want.
All right. We're going to take a quick break, just a short break, and we'll come back and we'll talk more with Dustin. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Download our app on Google Play and the App Store. It's so simple, even my mommy can use it.
Some comic live streams seem like they're just throwing everything at the wall. Hey, you want this unknown comic? Yeah, here, how about this boring one? Found this one in a rain gutter, give me some money for it. I know this looks like a rotting sandwich, but I swear it's a comic. Pay me! But with Comic Collectibles, we know you don't just want comics, you want the right comics. You want rare variant and incentive covers, vintage books in pristine condition at prices you won't find anywhere else, and truly unique hand-drawn cover sketches by some of the most amazing artists in the business. Join Rex and his rotating cast of co-hosts live from Dynamite Entertainment headquarters for a carefully curated roster of comics that you'll only find here at Comic Collectibles. Every Monday at 6 and Wednesday at 7 Eastern Time. Part of the experience.
Twitch, it's not just what happens when you have too many energy drinks anymore. Check out our content over there too.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. Please hit those like and subscribe buttons when you get a chance. And remember to check out Ethereal Comics website as well and look for their Kickstarters. Now, before we jump back into our conversation, there is some breaking news that I feel is too important not to mention. Netflix has just announced that in 2025, SpongeBob's arch enemy, Plankton, will be getting his own movie on the streaming channel. Yeah, Plankton is going to get his redemption arc, I think, from Netflix. Okay. I saw that during the break and I'm like, really? Plankton gets a movie.
Right on.
Yeah. I'd rather see their Aquaman parody guy with Barnacle
Oh
Boy.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's the one that needs the show. But
for sure.
yeah. Now, I'm going to bring up the touchy subject, and maybe referring to it as a touchy subject is probably a bad way to put it. But adult content. Now, do you feel that you have more freedom to do adult material? I mean, your covers tend to be your regular, your wild covers, and then your explicit covers.
Mm.
Do you feel that's easier to do through a crowdsourced thing than going through a distributor?
No. We just started the explicit stuff. Like we literally just started that. That's all part of the red label stuff that we're putting out going forward. But I mean, I don't know, when I owned a shop, it was all about Big Dog Ink. It was all about Zenoscope. It was the variants, and you could get them out of Diamond. But you could also get Broadswords books out of Diamond. You know, there was oh my gosh, there were like 30 different you had Web Witch and stuff like that you could get out of Diamond that was as raunchy could get, you know. And I mean, like, they make everything I do look tame, you know. And I don't think so. I think you could have done it through Diamond easily. I think you could probably do it through Penguin Press easily. It all depends on if you want to pay that, if you want to bow the knee, if you will, or bend the head, you know what I mean, to do what is required to be part of that. Kickstarter requires the same, though. You know, you'll never see me market my books as anything other than comic books. You'll never see me market them as pornography. You know what I mean? Because it is adult things that we have. I don't think, you know, you see our books firsthand. I don't think that I write pornography. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I write books for adults. That's a fact. You know what I mean? And there are mature scenes in them for sure. But I don't think I put out pornography. And that is a very big difference. And if you get into crowdfunding, they frown on pornography, you know? And that's why you see all these cats that are getting kicked off of Kickstarter, because they're literally marketing as pornography.
Yeah.
If you want any tidbit of knowledge, because I don't like to give them to folks on how to do things, don't market yourself as a porn creator. I mean, it's not great. You know, these get rich quick schemes to do porn on comic books, it's a joke, and I find it a really it's been really poor taste. You know, get rich quick stuff, you know, especially with that medium, trying to use porn as a comic thing to just gain fame and fortune. It needs to be tossed, man. It doesn't work. I love working with adult creators and I love working on adult content, but there's a difference. If you're not telling us a story, why are we trying to read it?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
And the crowdsourcing outlets realize this stuff exists. I mean, it's not like it's something where you can shove it under the rug and they're not going to find out. My guy, they know everything you're doing. Everything they're doing. You know, now that they're with Stripe, they keep up with every single little thing you do. So if that's a market that you're trying to get into, don't use Kickstarter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not, or Indiegogo even. It's not the space for it. You know, find another outlet if you're going to do the porn stuff, man. I mean, it doesn't work.
So from the outside point of view, it looks like Kickstarter or crowdsourcing your comics has the advantages of you know exactly your order before you have to publish it, which you do through Diamond as well. But you know, but you know your audience before you go really that far into it.
For sure.
And you can get people to sign up early to watch for it to launch. There's a lot of neat things crowdsourcing allows. But what are some of the downsides, the caveats, or the things that you didn't expect?
I think that, there's a quote in Jurassic Park about having all the problems of the world's largest theme parks and zoos all at the same time. Because you do. Mm-hmm. Like once you're a fully established publisher, not a fly-by-night, not a guy that does it twice a year, that's not a publisher to me. I hate it. That's halftime for me. You know what I mean? Right now I'm working on, X amount of books, so that's not a thing. But when you finally get there, and kudos to everyone that does, and I hope you do if you're trying. But when you finally get there, you realize all the things that are at the top. You know what I mean? They're all the things that you wouldn't have expected. As a larger company, like if you're working with Diamond or you're working at Marvel or whatever, and you have an artist fall off, oh well, you're big enough, you don't give a shit. You know what I mean? It's not a big deal to you.
Yeah.
But when I have an artist fall off that I've paid, $3,000, $4,000 and they just disappear, that's not a good thing. It's happened to me twice. That's why I don't pay ahead anymore. You know what I mean? And it's the reality of it. I have no fallback other than to be like, I'm really sorry this occurred. I hope you guys are understanding of it. I'm doing my best to fix it. When we had an issue with the printer, it was like, find a new printer. Well, it took us 3 months, even with, recommendations from amazing higher ups in this industry. Still took us 3 months to find a printer, So then it's every project you're working on is 3 to 6 months behind because it took you that long to find a printer, And
Yeah.
what happens if, like we're doing 2 books a month, we're moving into 3 books a month, right? So we're doing 2 books a month. What happens if both of them do poorly? Not saying that my books do poorly, but what happens? Then you're looking at a deficit. Now, generally speaking, 1 book can do not great and you're still okay. You know what I mean? But if 2 books do poorly, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's just like any other industry. When you set out on your own, everything is on your shoulders, right? Like when Kickstarter happens, the one thing that's really, really helpful with them is you can handle sales through them. It's a point of sale. If you're doing your own thing, you have to have your own point of sale, which for those of you that don't know, that's another bill in itself. So with them handling it, they take their percentage and I'm okay with it. I'm going to be honest with you, Dan. I don't see anything wrong or negative with using Kickstarter. I don't see anything that doesn't do anything but benefit the creative team. The only thing that I would change are things that they're changing now. They're implementing different user interface changes. They're implementing different policy changes. They're adding late purchasing. You know what I mean? They're doing all kinds of things, that are amazing. I know that if I needed to change an order midway through it at Diamond, it wasn't always the greatest experience, Yeah. But at Kickstarter, I can reach out to the individual themselves and be like, hey, we're doing this, we're moving into this, is that okay? If it's not, I'll refund you. I'm really sorry. You know what I mean? But it'll be in your benefit in the long run. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And those are the types of things that I think that Kickstarter does above and beyond. I don't need a customer service agent. I handle it all on my own. You know what I mean? I don't need someone to tell me that I can't get a refund or I can't do a refund. Why should I not be able to refund someone immediately if they need it? I can refund them, you know? And Kickstarter also allows me to do my own windows, whereas Diamond has their own windows that they're not going to budge about with my product. You know, they have to have it by now. Okay, well, like I said, what happens if you have to move a printer? What happens if an artist falls off? You know what I mean? These are big deals. What happens, like recently, you and I have been living through, what happens if my friggin' pipe in my kitchen blows up? I still don't have a kitchen or a guest bathroom almost 2 months later.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And all that stuff costs money. Diamond doesn't care about that. They don't, it's the bottom line. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying they don't have individuals in the company that don't care. I just mean as a whole, that's not a factor to them because you're a small fish. You know, you're a small fish to them. So, but with Kickstarter, it's very much more you just, again, you handle all the avenues. You take care of everything involved. So you're the one that sees all the things. You know, if, you know, little Timmy gets like, breaks his leg on his bike, and all of a sudden Timmy's dad is like, oh man, I really need some extra cash. Dustin, can you help me? You know, I'm like, oh man, do you want to throw me an original cover like from the book you just worked on? I can put it on the campaign right now and see if anybody's interested. You know, I can't do that with Diamond.
Right.
You know, you go, Dustin, I would like to do X or X. You know, I'd like to add some stuff that I didn't think about before to this project, and I want to market it. I can immediately change that. I can't do that with Diamond. You know,
you give a lot of good reasons to crowdsource. So
that's why the big dogs are doing it. You know, that's why they're all coming over to do it. You know, you just talked about a couple of amazing books that are doing huge. Look at G.I. Joe as well. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that we can compete with them because of their level, but if you look at crowdsourcing, most of the time you get a really good product. Now, there are the chances that you're not going to get a good product. You know what I mean? There are the, you know, like I said, the fly-by-nights, but there are also people that are trying really hard too, for the most part. So you really can't be like, I mean, yes, there's a chance you're going to get a crappy product, but as long as you're watching and you're paying attention to who you're buying from, I really don't think those are factors. You know, like, when it comes to Ethereal, like, I know that we had our printer issue was, I got these books in, the QC was supposed to be done, it wasn't done, and I thought it was, so I shipped out, you know, $5,000, $6,000 worth of product, and then I had a backer reach out and go, oh my gosh, Dustin, there's pages out of order for this book. Now, this was 3 years ago, and I'm still recuperating from that. You know what I mean? But I'm almost done with recuperating. I'm almost there. But it was like I immediately printed, when we found the new printer 3 months later, immediately reprinted all those books and shipped out all those books on my dime. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know that Diamond's going to do that. I don't know that's the thing. I think they're going to give you a credit. I don't think they're going to give you the books you wanted. I think you're going to get a credit, because that's what I used to get. I used to get a credit because they'd be like, well, Marvel only prints X, or DC only prints X, and I'd only get, you know, or if you weren't big enough, you'd only get X amount of whatever you fucking ordered. Oh, excuse me. X amount of what you ordered. You know what I mean? And us, if you go, Dustin, I would like X amount, I'm not going to tell you no unless I'm only printing X. You know what I mean? I don't care how big you are. If you're like, I need 15 copies of this, why shouldn't you be able to get those 15 copies?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And this makes it easy.
Okay, we're at the end of the show. I appreciate you coming on. Folks can follow you at Ethereal Comics on Facebook is a good place to get you, right?
Yep, yep.
Any other?
Or you can look up my name. I mean, I post everything. All my socials are open. You know what I mean? So anybody can get on and talk or whatever else. We're also at Ethereal Publishing on Instagram, and we're at www.ethereal-comics.com, which has a great, oh my gosh, it's so great. You can actually reach out to us at any time and speak to us right there through the website. It's instantaneous. I absolutely love it. It goes right to my phone. So I'm happy to talk to you. If you're on the website and you have a question, all you have to do is jot it in the chat, and it goes right to my phone. So I love that. I think it's super cool.
That's a brave man to have a direct line to you from the public, from the fans.
I'm grateful though. So whatever, I'm down.
All right, we're going to wrap it up there, folks. Remember to stick around later today. Will be What's in the Box, SketchUp, and the Geek Chat. The Geek Chat's in the middle there. And I will be back next week. Keep a lookout for Ethereal Comics, and I will see you all soon. Thank you again, Dustin, and have a good night.
Appreciate you.